5 days, 5 days. Oh. We're all working hard. We got to win. We can't let that alternative win. That would be a disaster for our country. So I want to just say a very big hello, Nevada. We're doing great in Nevada. And I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hard-working American patriots, and you are that. You are that. But I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question, very easy one. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I come today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the massive criminal, and you see it, the criminal invasion. Some horrible, deathly people. We're not going to allow it. They're destroying our country. We will stop it immediately. And I will bring back something that you haven't heard of for about 4 years. We're going to bring back the American dream, and I want to just thank you. You're going to bring it back. And that's all you really need to know. And remember, Kamala and Sleepy Joe, they broke it. I will fix it, and we'll fix it fast. And we're going to have America that's bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. And, you know, we're doing fantastically well in the polls. And I want to thank a man who's with us. And I said, Joe, you got to go because he's got some big stuff going on and we got to win this thing. He's heard my speeches before a little bit, but you have a great governor here, Joe Lombardo. And where is Joe? Where is Joe? Thank you, Joe. Is it okay? Can he go and do some business so that we can win and he can take care of some young people that are incredible and love him? Joe, thank you very much. So you go home, Joe. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great job. Joe Lombardo, everybody. Thank you. He's a good man. This election is a choice between whether we'll have 4 more years of gross incompetence and failure or whether we'll begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back fast. And I'm asking you to be excited about the future of our country. That's not an easy thing to do when you see these clowns, these horrible, horrible people we have, these horrible people we have running our country. I'm asking you to dream big again. Dream big again. This will be America's new golden age. That's what we're going to do, a golden age of America. Every problem facing us can be solved, but now the fate of our nation is in your hands. This is a very big state for us. This is a very big state. I love it. I'm here a lot without campaigning, but I want to tell you this is a big one, and it looks awfully good. It looks, I don't want to say, just keep voting, keep voting. You got to get out and vote. On Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala that you've had enough. You can't take it anymore. She's horrible, the worst there is. There's never been anybody worse on the border. She's the worst. She is the worst vice president in the history of our country. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. The worst. Horrible. Horrible. She is horrible. And she lies. Every time she gets up, she tells a lie. Donald Trump will not allow fracking. That's the first, by the way. I won't allow. Donald Trump will not allow drilling for oil, which is going to make us rich as hell. No, he doesn't. No, she lies about everything. IVF, she lies. I feel like I'm the father of IVF. She lies about everything. She's worse than Crooked Hillary, actually. You know, Hillary was a lot smarter, and she lied a lot, but this one lies about everything. She just makes it up as you go. We've been setting records in early voting, as you probably know. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. But we can't let up. In-person early voting in your state ends tomorrow, so get out and vote. But the main thing is you gotta vote. You gotta get that. Tuesday is a very special day. It's a big day, and we can close this thing out. We're leading for the first time, I think, ever, right? We're leading in early voting for the first time ever. That's right. Never happened because, as you know, Democrats always lead in the early part, and the Republicans like to go there on Tuesday, and I understand that you want to see your ballot go into a box. I'm not even sure you see that with this craziness that we have, but we're going to get it all changed. But we're doing really well, and to be leading in early voting is unprecedented, so that's really great. So it's an honor. And if you can't make it tomorrow, you got to make a plan. You got to be there on Tuesday, everybody. Who has not voted? Whoa. Whoa. Who has voted? Great. That is great. Wow. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Look at that. Oh, I'll bet I'd like to know what casino you work for, huh? Look at that. That's great. So those that haven't, get out and vote. Every vote counts. Thank you very much. With your help, we're going to win Nevada. We're going to defeat Kamala Harris. Kamala. And we're going to, what are we going to do? We're going to make America great again, right? Over the past 4 years, Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted upon our people. She's violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of gangs and criminal migrants from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions, from all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo. Today I want to hear directly from a mother whose world has been absolutely shattered. This just came out, and everybody that sees it it's like devastating. And there's so many things happening like this with the illegal migrants, so many killers. We're not going to let it go on. Please watch.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends. Yeah. We're going shaking again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with two men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration in our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
Thank you very much. So sad. Thousands of people all over our country. This is constant. These are some really tough people, some really bad people coming in. They make our criminals look like nice people. That's how tough they are. They are just so bad. The jails are being emptied into our country. Jails from the toughest countries are being opened up and let in through her stupid open border policies. Totally unvetted. Nobody knows who they are, where they come from. Countries you've never even heard of. The day I take office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. And I believe it's the biggest problem. Biden and Harris. You can't say Harris because nobody knows who Harris is. Nobody knows. You say Harris, nobody knows who the hell she is. But that's great. Thank you, darling. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. The savages charged with brutalizing and murdering Precious Jocelyn are members of the same vicious Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua. And they're taking over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. We have a governor who's petrified. He's a radical left lunatic, and he's petrified. He doesn't know what the hell to do. He's lost. I call him a lost sheep. And they're unleashing a violent killing spree all over America. The United States is now an occupied country. Can you believe I have to say that? We're an occupied country. They're coming in, and they're by the thousands, and they have equipment that's military-grade equipment. How do they get that? They have military-grade equipment, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. Liberation Day. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. We're going to get them out. We have no choice. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. They are conquering areas of our country. They're conquering. We don't know, and nobody wants to talk about it. And the fake news, of which there is a lot back there. Whoa. A lot. They don't want to write about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They'll write about it after the election. No, they don't want to write about it now. And we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail, or we'll kick them the hell out of our country. We'll want them out. Through our open border, Kamala Harris is also actively aiding and abetting the worst human traffickers, child smugglers, drug dealers, and bloodthirsty criminal networks on the planet. There's nobody worse than what she's catering to. They even have an app number where to call so they can dump off illegal migrants. They have an app. Can you believe it? They have cell phones. They have airplanes flying over the border loaded up with migrants that they're dropping all over our country. The cartel's profits have soared from relatively minor numbers to $13 billion from human trafficking alone under border czar. She doesn't want to be called border czar. She was the border czar, but you know what? She was in charge of the border. And by the way, the Border Patrol, they endorsed me very strongly. They even said I was the greatest president in the history of our country. Now, I said, does that include Abraham Lincoln? Does that include the great George Washington? They said you're the best president, and you're the best president on the border. We had the best border. Drop that, please. Drop my all-time favorite graph. Do you mind? I love this. I sleep with this. I kiss it. I kiss it. Oh, that saved my life, I guess. Without that graph, I wouldn't be here right now. I looked over to my right very quickly, and I noticed there was a little problem. A little bit of a problem. Lunatics. We got lunatics out there. But that says it. The last day that I was in office was the arrow on the bottom. That was the lowest day in the history of our country for illegal immigration. That was done by the Border Patrol and ICE. And then it became like an Elon Musk rocket ship. Look at that. Look at what happened. That was the lowest day we've ever had in terms of illegal immigration. By the way, the drugs were equally low. The whole thing was so good. All that guy had to do is leave it. He went to the beach all the time, right? He could have gone to the beach, but he went to the beach, but they made changes. Instead, remain in Mexico. I got things that nobody could come into our country. They had to remain in Mexico. I think Tijuana might have been the fastest growing town in the history of the world. Hundreds of thousands of people, but they weren't in our country, and we want people to come in, but we want them to come in legally, right? We want people to come in, but they have to come in legally. We don't want murderers and drug dealers, and we don't want them to open their prisons. Think of it, they're opening their prisons and dumping them on us. But every day they're stealing innocent lives on both sides of the border, both sides. Just days ago, a young U.S. Marine Corps veteran named Nicholas Quetz from Arizona was driving through Mexico very routinely. Who would think this could happen? For a beach weekend with his great friends. Yet everybody loved him. He had a lot of friends. When he was viciously gunned down on the highway and murdered by members of a Mexican cartel. And we're joined today by Nick's wife, Carrie, his father, Douglas, his mother, Patricia, his sister, Alexis, and his brother-in-law, Phil, and they're beautiful people. And if they'd like to come up, I'd love to have them just to honor their beautiful boy. I'd love to have them. Come on up. Bill, good. That's great. This is a great family, a perfect family, and what happened to them should happen to nobody.
Hey, so unscripted, I really wasn't planning on being here. 2 weeks ago, I was a completely apolitical actor. Anybody outside my own home wouldn't have known who I would have voted for. Today, the situation changed for me. 2 weeks ago, Friday, my son was murdered by cowards, shot in the back on the way to the beach in Mexico. The reason I bring that up, and some people will question, why was he in Mexico? He was in Mexico going to pursue his life, enjoy his life. We grew up as a military family, had been around the water. He loved it. We don't have Arizona Beach, so we call Rocky Point Arizona's beach. A lot of people go there, hundreds of thousands a year, I think, transit there. Plenty of Americans own property down there. So that happened. We got the call from the State Department, very professional. That night, no news in the United States to speak of. Sunday, still no news. Monday, still no news, other than the very most local level with no publication. Tried to get in contact with elected leaders, heard nothing. Tuesday, reached out to my local representative. He put me in contact with Senator Vance. Senator Vance coincidentally was coming to Tucson for a speech that day. I can't imagine how busy Senator Vance, President Trump are running their campaign. Senator Vance, I asked for 2 minutes to talk to him. And, I've met in my line of work, and I'm actually still a current federal employee. That's one of the reasons I've stayed apolitical. I'm a 20-year military retiree, so I've dedicated my entire life to this country and doing... My son, who was murdered, is a 4-year military veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He worked on vertical assault from the Osprey, so he'd fast drove out of helicopters. My daughter is actually a drilling Army reservist, and my son-in-law recently medically retired due to issues sustained on active duty. So our family's a military family with generations and generations of service. I bring these things up as an apolitical actor and somebody who struggled, the kind of Americans many are, who probably sit around their table and say, who are we going to vote for, go back and forth, decide what we think is important. And we struggle on that, and we actually pray on it. And many people ask me, how can I stand up here today 13 days after my son was killed and talk in front of groups? And it is through the grace of God, and I do believe in God and a higher being. I do believe my son Nicholas has given me the power to be here, has given my wife the power to be here, has given my daughter. Karime, who is Nick's wife, and my son-in-law Philip. And Philip has done such a great job, so now I have one living son, and that is Phil, because one was stolen by the cartel. So when I met with Senator Vance, and because I am apolitical and met many leaders from up to the level of National Security Council plenty of times, working different issues for this government, I asked him a question, and I said, sir, before we talk, I need to know if I'm speaking to the candidate, the senator, or the Marine. And he said, I'm JD. I need you to tell me what I can do for you, and you tell me what you can do for me. And he meant it as a way of helping him to help me. So J.D. Vance was awesome. I asked for 90 seconds. He gave me 15 minutes. At the end, the very next morning, the very next morning, and after having tried to reach my elected officials for 5 days, President Trump's office called me. President Trump, in the fight of his life, offered to meet with us. President Trump gave me 15 minutes of his time to talk about what we could do. I asked him for some things, and he helped. I asked him, A, for U.S. involvement, and we know he's candidate Trump right now, and there isn't a seated president. I asked for U.S. involvement in the investigation with the Mexicans. I asked for extradition of the killers after I found out under the current U.S. code, not all can be extradited, only if they're tied to RICO activities. In this case, they probably are tied to RICO activities. They are probably coming back, but I'll defer all questions on his investigation to the FBI. And I asked for a working policy in Mexico. In my career, I worked in one of the things I worked on was Plan Colombia, very similar situation in security as to what we have in Mexico today. It was supported by Senator Biden. That's out in public record. You can look at it. We have no working policy with Mexico right now. Count the numbers of illegal immigrants, whether they're private, whether they're dangerous or not dangerous, and you'll see a number of about 25 million crossing back and forth. And then when somebody says, why was Nick in Mexico? My son was an hour from our house when he was executed by cowards. That's how close it is. But it is a national security challenge, not a local border state challenge. We have these type of things with Tren de Agua and MS-13, anybody else you want to name, plus unnamed criminal organizations. The cartels, they operate with impunity in Mexico. They've infiltrated every level of their government. The local police are helpless because they're not properly equipped. State police a little bit better, but not, and then the federal. But we need to work with the Mexicans on this to go forward. So what I'm leaving you with, and I'll give this back to President Trump, to whom you came to listen, not me, is this. For most of us in this room, and honestly, I would not have been in this room because it wouldn't have been political 2 weeks ago. You know who you're going to vote for. But for the soundbite and the people looking at this, after 12 days, I received a phone call from Senator Mark Kelly. That was the 12th day. And he was gracious, and he offered his condolences. And I told him, sir, I appreciate that because I'm a respectful person. I'll work with anybody. But what I want is sponsorship of a couple things. One is change to U.S. code so that if committed crime against U.S. persons, especially murder, they are brought back here to face our justice. Number two is legislation that is enacted that takes us someplace closer to Plan Mexico, that'll institute not only military capability but also institution building. And if we break out the numbers of what it costs, we can do that for much less than we spend on illegal immigrants. And we can make both sides of the border secure. People are coming here. Some come for economic, and we talk about that, but many of those people are actually fleeing due to the insecurity in their own country. If we can help them, we can help ourselves. Senator Kelly, and as I said, so this is bipartisan, but we need a leader who can enact it. And the leader is standing right next to me because he's promised to enact it. Bipartisan. And I will tell you, President Trump, former President Trump, however you want to name him, and I had some really good conversations. We had conversations between ourselves, two men looking at each other. The man had a tear in his eye when he saw the picture of my son, and the person that those that are on the that are not have not committed and don't know, he's a decent man. He tried to help us, and he promised to help us. He also made a promise to me that'll be between the two of us. But if he's elected, I do believe he'll keep it. Sir, I can't thank you enough. Sir, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for my family in terms of calling attention to this. It was unreported in the media. Go back and check for anybody who looks. And I will tell you, and importantly, like I said, Governor Walz was in Arizona last Saturday. He had a convention. We tried to go. We asked to go. I've got electronic proof of it, so we can show pictures. They've already been released to the media. We're told it was full. It was in a high school auditorium, and we weren't allowed to speak with them. So when you wonder about where America really is and what the stories are, you don't have to wonder anymore. The man next to me and his vice presidential nominee, a current seated senator, both met with me within 36 hours of asking, and both took up the cause. And for any troll that is out there and says your son shouldn't have been in Mexico, if it's safe for 25 million people to come here, how can it not be safe for my son to go an hour south of the border? And for the trolls that say we're politicizing my son's death, I will tell you to go to the root of the word. It is the policy that contributed to my son being killed. It is the policy that's contributing to the death of other Americans, just like the video you saw of that young lady. It is the policy that's contributing to fentanyl coming into the United States. Those are political failures, and we need to end them. Thank you for your time.
I'm asking you, help us get justice for Nicholas.
That's incredible. And frankly, to do that, to be able to do that, literally just a few days after this horrible event happened is pretty amazing, I'll tell you. We'll take care of it. We're going to take care of it. We're going to get that guy. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. They know who he is. Can you believe it? They know who he is. Nothing's done. Mexico's going to give him to us. Mexico's going to give him to us. They have to. They have to. It's going to be real easy. When I'm president, we're going to put the drug smugglers and human traffickers, we're going to put them right out of business. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people in our country. You know, if we had a war, it wouldn't be as bad as this. Hundreds of thousands of people a year are being killed. To expedite removals of the Tren de Aragua savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. Sanctuaries for criminals. As we secure our border, we will bring back our economy, and very simply, I will make America affordable again, because it's not affordable anymore. They have destroyed it with this inflation, this horrible inflation, the worst ever in our country. Kamala Harris cast the deciding votes that launched the worst inflation of your lifetime. She cost the typical American family over $30,000 in higher prices. You look at your food bills, you look at the cost of food items. You know, more people tell me about groceries. The word grocery, I've heard it more in the last year than any other word, I think. I think I've heard it more than any other word, other than the word garbage. Garbage. How stupid is a man to say that, right? How stupid is a man to say that? But she believes it too. I'd love to hear the conversation now. Oh, boy. But now Kamala wants to raise taxes on the typical American family by an average of $5,000 a year. Kamala also launched a war on tip workers. Good place to talk about it. And service workers right here in Nevada, increasing the so-called tip allocation tax rate by 60%. That's why you don't hear them talking about no tax on tips. They don't talk about it because they're going just the opposite. In other words, even after Kamala wrecked your economy with inflation, she came after your tip income like a vulture would do, actually. She doesn't understand it. She doesn't know what it means. She has no sense of economics, none whatsoever. If she gets 4 more years, Kamala Harris will pick your pockets bare. We will not have a country. Everyone will flee. Our companies are going to flee. People don't realize these companies, these big, beautiful companies, they're run by international business people. They don't live here. Many of them live in Switzerland and Sweden and lots of other countries. They don't mind. They don't even think about it. They'll take these companies out of here so fast. It's a mass charge to see who can get what company. And they want to go, and they'll go. They don't care. They have no loyalty to our country. We have to keep them here by being smart, not stupid. I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses, and we will have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of our parent or a loved one. You know, if we didn't have that, if we didn't have the angel moms and lots of different names, but the angel moms is an example. If we didn't have them, the great wife that takes care of a husband who is badly wounded, and vice versa, by the way. But if we didn't have that, caregivers, they really take care. We wouldn't have enough hospitals if we doubled the size of our hospital rooms. If we doubled it up, we wouldn't have enough hospitals to take care of our country. And now, of course, what's happening is you go to towns and cities all over the country, you can't have a hospital anyway because the migrants have literally taken over the beds. They've taken over the schools. They've taken over your son has a seat in school, and he no longer has it because a migrant is they're giving him, actually, they're saying, you go first. The migrants go first. Migrants go first. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening all over the country. The schools are bursting at the seams. The hospitals are a disaster. You go to the hospital, you have a problem, you can't get in. I will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And I'll terminate her Green New scam, one of the greatest scams in the history of our country, devised by a person who never even took an environmental course. You know who that is, right? AOC +3. Remember what she said, 12 years. Well, the 12 years has pretty much come up, Mr. Congressman, right? Matt, right? The 12 years has come and gone. We weren't going to be around anymore after 12 years. This is a young lady who, I don't know if she's having a lot of fun or what, but boy, I watched those senators. They were there for a long time. I watched them say, yeah, that's right, that's right. You know what her real goal is? $93 trillion. They don't want any more windows in apartments, no more windows. They'd like every building in Manhattan to be taken down and build a building with no windows in it. You have to be one of the greatest salesmen in the world to sell one of those apartments. I guess I have it wrong. I've always been known for having the biggest windows. I want those windows to be so big, right down to the bottom of the floor. And the bigger they are, the better they sell. That's just the way it is. I got to change my whole philosophy if you don't vote me in, because I'll go back to building crazy buildings now and I won't be able to use windows anymore. No, they don't want windows. They don't want cows. They don't want anything. They don't know what they want, actually. And I will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. We're going to cut it in half. We have liquid gold. And then everything else is going to come down. It was energy that brought it up. It's going to be energy that brings it down. They screwed up that energy policy. They had it down to nothing, and then they snapped it back. They said, we're not going to win and elect the prices. Remember, they're going through crazy. Then they got it back almost to my level. But see, my level wasn't right because I would have been 4 times that level by then. Then I will be 4 times or 5 times the level very soon. Despite all of the damage she's caused, Kamala has spent the final week of her campaign comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And 2 days ago, Joe Biden called our supporters garbage. Garbage. That's nasty. I think that's worse than deplorables, right? How did that work out for Hillary? I think this is going to work out even worse. And they mean it. They mean it, even though without question my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lion Kamala. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They got nobody like that. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't do it. Can't do it. You can't be president if you hate the American people, and they do hate it. They hate the American people. Who would have an open border policy where prisons and jails and penitentiaries are allowed to freely walk into our country? Where gang members are taken off the streets of Caracas, Venezuela, and dumped into our country. We don't even know their names. We know nothing about them. They're free to roam. They call it free to roam. Congratulations, you are free to roam. And they killed 4 people, you know. It's crazy. The 13,000 plus that we have, the killers, these are murderers from jails. Can you believe that? These were all murderers, convicted murderers, in jail, in prison. And we know nothing about them. In fact, we don't even know where they are. But they're out there someplace. I'm sure we have a few of them. Welcome. I'm sure we have a few of them sitting. This can give you a little bit of the yips, right? You're sitting down now and you don't know whether or not the guy next to you killed 5 people. No, we're going to get him out of here. We're going to get him out fast. We're going to get him out fast. And our local police are going to be activated. And if we had the cooperation from the fake news, which you don't, it would happen relatively quickly. We're going to be able to do it. No, our local police, let me tell you, they know every one of them. They know their middle name. They know everything about them. They know what country they come from. They know everything. But they're told to stand back. Don't touch them. Don't do anything. Stand back. They don't want to stand back. Just like Border Patrol. They go crazy when they see these people pouring in. And they can look at them and they can see trouble. They go trouble, 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 trouble. No trouble, trouble, trouble. They can look at them and they can see good or bad. Kamala Harris is not fit to be president of the United States. She doesn't have the intellect, the stamina, or that special quality that real leaders have to have. She doesn't have any quality leadership. She shouldn't even be there. He got 14 million votes. Look, I'm not a fan. But we had a debate. He didn't do great. His numbers went down. Big deal. We wanted to see him, and they say, you can't win. You're out. This is, we call him a threat to democracy. They look at me, I'm a threat to democracy. I am the least threat. I'm the one saving our democracy. No, crazy Nancy. She's crazy as a bedbug. She walked in and she started screaming at him, you're out of here. You're out of here. Get out of here. And it's amazing, her and some of her friends. And yet with Nancy, she was a big owner of Visa stock. She started off with nothing, and now she's worth $200 million, they say. But listen to this, with her husband. With her husband. What was that all about anyway? That was a weird deal. What was that all about? So she's got the husband, and they buy stock. And she was a big owner in, I believe it was Visa, and big owner, big position. And we didn't know this, but Visa, it was going to be announced the following day that Visa was under major federal criminal investigation. And Nancy sold all of her stock at Visa the day before that came out. I don't know. Sounds a little bad. What do you think, Michael? A little bit shaky. She said it was by strictly coincidence. She said it was by coincidence. No, well, but I don't see the press. Did you guys write about that at all? I don't think so, huh? Joe Biden's comments were the direct result of Kamala's decision to portray everyone who isn't voting for her as an evil and even subhuman person. And we know it's what they believe because look at how they've treated you. They do treat you like garbage. They really do. For the last 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racists, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, even Nazis, and they called me Hitler. My father was a great guy. He was a strong guy, but a good guy with a big heart. Strong, but really a warm guy. Whenever we walked down the street, we'd come sometimes into Manhattan. That was a big treat. And we'd see, in those days, you don't see that anymore. Now you see it at a very much higher, at a scarier level, frankly. They put a gun in your ribs and they say, give me what you have. But they used to hold tin cups out. And he'd always walk by and he'd always put $100 in it. Anytime he saw it, he'd put $100 in. That was like $1,000 today, maybe more. I said, that's nice. I always remembered it. It's nice. But he told me once, I don't even know in what reference, but he said, never use the name Nazi. You don't use that name. Do you understand me? And never use the name Hitler. You don't have to say Hitler. Don't ever say Hitler. Do you understand? And now I'm being accused of being Hitler by these lunatics out there that have lost control of our country. Our country we're riddled with crime. Every city, you take a look at it, it's falling apart. They smell. They're dirty. They're criminal-ridden. You take a look at what's happened to our great cities. It's a shame. And you know a city, and I hate to say it, I hurt myself. I have property there, San Francisco. I have a lot of property in California. It hurts me. But I don't care about this. Look, to be president is a big deal. So I don't give a damn about my property. But I own big property in San Francisco. San Francisco. Now I lose another $25 million by this statement. That's one. San Francisco is almost unlivable. And it's because of her. She was the DA who destroyed San Francisco. She then became the Attorney General. And she destroyed, along with Gavin Newsom, one of the worst governors in history. She destroyed California. More people moved out last year than moved in. First time that's ever happened. I mean, they have the best weather, in all fairness. In all fairness, they have the most incredible weather. And they have the beautiful ocean. They have the beaches. They have everything. And you got to work hard to screw that up. But he's done it. He's done it. You know, they just passed a law on voter ID. Do you know that? That not only don't they have voter ID, but it's against the law for you to ask somebody for voter ID. So if you work at one of the very few places that would even have the consequence of asking, because there are no places. You know, they just mail out millions of ballots and they come mailed back in. They don't know where the hell they're going, although they have a pretty good idea. They tend to go to Democrat neighborhoods a little bit more. But they mail out like 38 million ballots, and then they get mailed back in. They shovel them with shovels into kids and bullshit. Because I'll tell you what, if I ran in California, you know, I went to California with the family of our great congressman and his wife, Ginger, who's incredible, Matt Gaetz, Mrs. Gaetz. And their family had a little event in a beautiful part of California, and nobody could believe. You couldn't even get on the streets. It looked like Lindbergh just arrived on Broadway. It was so crazy. We would do, with a fair count, we would do great in California, the right guy. Now, me, I would do great because Hispanics like me. I'm glad they love me. They should love me. And I love them. But I would do great. If we had an honest vote, I always say, if God came down just for one day to be the vote counter, in other words, I would win in California. I would. That's a disgrace what happens. Think of it. They send out millions and millions and millions of ballots. They go out. They come back. You know, it's interesting. When you go to a legitimate place, like in Florida, they've done a very good job. But I go into Palm Beach. I go in. They say, sir, I know who you are. I mean, I fully understand who you are. You're the president. But, sir, could I see your identification? Oh. And I say, you're doing the right thing. I actually say, don't be embarrassed. You know, they're very embarrassed. Sir, I mean, I don't know how to ask, but could I see it? I say, yeah, here. Oh, thank you, sir. I thought it was you. I thought, no, they feel good. And then they give you a paper, and you sign the paper, and you put on whoever you're voting for. Maybe there's a bond issue or something, and you do a check, and they're watching, and then you sign. They walk you over to essentially a container, but it could be in the form of a machine. The fewer machines you have, the better, by the way. The fewer you have. You know, Elon Musk told me he's the greatest. I would say, you got to say, in terms of computer, I would say he's probably about as good as you get. And, you know, I watched that big rocket come in 2 weeks ago. It came in, that sucker was going to crash. I said, no, don't let it crash. I tell the story. I was talking to a very important person on the phone, very important. And I'm watching the screen. It's muted. There's no sound, but I see this, seeing live. And at first I thought it might be like a space-type movie, you know, some kind of a crazy movie. But this rocket comes in and it's all burned. You know, it's coming down at 10,000 miles an hour, some crazy speed, and they're just like on fire. But now it's like the size of a 22-story building. That's pretty big, right? And it's coming in, and I'm talking to this guy, and I say, do me a favor. Hold it just for a second, okay? I got to watch this. I put the phone down. I never picked it back up. Can you believe? And because I'm president, but more importantly, because I may be president, he held on for 45 minutes. The guy held on. You know, if I wasn't president or if I had no potential to be president, he would have hung up in the first 30 seconds. But I picked that up like 45 minutes later. I said, hello, 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 President. Very important guy. Everybody heard of him. I felt so badly, but one of those things, but I was fascinated. So I see this massive 22-story ship coming down, and you have the gantry or whatever the hell they call it nowadays, and the ship, and it's coming too fast, and I'm like, oh, no. Don't do that. I don't want to see it crash. And I didn't know it was Elon. I assumed it might be. I mean, why not? He has everything else to. But the ship is coming down, and then I see the bottom is going to hit that gantry, and then I see an explosion of fire. Pushes it like that, just perfect. The fire's all over the place. That whole thing is burning. There's smoke. I never saw anything like it. Then, boom. And then the arms come out. And just like you do with your beautiful little baby, he grabbed that sucker. And it was secure. I said, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was going to crash a thing. The fire, everything just, computer, right? It was all, I called up Elon. I said, Elon, you know, he gave us the greatest endorsement. He said, it's the most important election we've ever had. You know where he is right now? He's campaigning in Pennsylvania. Can you believe it? With all he's got to do, because he thinks it's the most important thing he can do. But I said, Elon, was that you, the rocket? Was that you, Elon? I called him up. Hello? And I said, how you doing, Elon? Okay, what's up? I said, Elon, was that you with the rocket? Yeah. I said, you're unbelievable. I said, can Russia do that? No. Why not? They don't have the knowledge, and they never will. I said, can China do that? No. I said, why not? Because I have the knowledge, and they don't. It would take them 10 years before they can do that. I said, can the U.S. do it outside of you? No. I said, that's why I like this guy. That's why I like this guy. Hello, Mr. Senator. I just see you there. The Barrasso man, he's one of the greatest people. What a great, I didn't know you were going to be here. I'm very impressed. I guess Sam Brown must be doing very well for you to be here, huh? We got the leader of the Senate. We got the leader of the Senate here. And I know it's not for me, so it has to be for Sam Brown, right? Thank you. Thank you. Senator Barrasso is an unbelievable guy, and Sam is unbelievable. And we're going to get to him in 2 seconds. And he really is. By the way, you know, I do the weave, right? You know the weave? It's genius. It's genius. I can go here, but it's always related, maybe sometimes just a little tiny bit. But I can, like here, over there. Because I look, I see them, I say, whoa, there's a senator, one of the biggest senators, and one, maybe the most powerful guy. Because Mitch doesn't have it anymore. No, he may be the most powerful guy in the Senate. And I'm very impressed with you, Sam. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But nobody has given up more, right? Nobody has given up more who's run for the U.S. Senate than Sam Brown. Nobody. And we should put him in office. Nobody has given up what he's given. Defending us. Defending us. And he's running against a horrible person, a radical left lunatic. But nobody's given up what that man has given up. And I say it. And he might not even like me to say it, but I say it because it's true. Nobody has given up, ever, that's ever run for the U.S. Senate. And I just hope he gets in. And he's very close. I saw a poll. You're right there, neck and neck. Great. Nice that you're there, Barrasso. That's great. But they've bullied you. They've demonized you. They've demeaned you. They've censored us. They've deplatformed us. You know, they took me. I had 280 million between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And one day I woke up and I had nobody. Think of that. They took them all away from me. No, think of that. And I have a lot of things to say. I have a lot of good things to say. At least I think they're good. And I didn't know what the hell to do. And I went about 2 months, and I had all this stuff, and my mind's ready to explode because I can't tell people. And then what happens? I did what's called an most of you are too young. There's a couple of guys here that's fine. They know they've heard it. But I did what's called an old-fashioned press release. And I do a press release, and I put it out, and it got better and better. Save America. It was called Save America. And people loved it. And then I created Truth. Think of this. Truth. And it's hot as a pistol now. So think of it. Somebody said, very smart guy, a Wall Street genius, he said to me, think of it. They hated you so much that they took you away from, I had like 280. I know Mark Zuckerberg said I'm number one. Number one, I think of that. He came to the White House, and he's actually been very nice to me, I must say. But he came to the White House. He said, congratulations, you're number one. But on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, then they called it Twitter. Now they call it X. But under a different regime. And it's great that Elon bought that. He's done us all a big favor. Because these were bad people. But, so this friend of mine who's a natural business person, he viewed it differently. I said, can you imagine what they did? But think of what happened. They deplatformed me, just like I said. They took my voice away. I then came up with a press release, and the press release went crazy. It was like almost as hot, maybe just as hot. But then I said, I got to open up some kind of equipment or machinery. I got to do it like, I want to do it. So I couldn't do it then because they wouldn't even talk. They wanted me. They wanted my voice silenced. So I created Truth. And it's really good. It's very expensive to do that. It's expensive stuff. Between the clouds and all the other crap that I had to learn about that I wasn't interested in. I got a cloud. I got everything. But this guy said to me the other day, he said, think about it. They deplatform you. They take your voice away. They want to destroy you. So you, in a moment of weakness, develop your own source of information, and you do it at a high level, and you get great engineers, but it's still expensive, and you put it out, and then you open it up, and it's called Truth, and they said you couldn't get the name Truth because it was somebody else had to own it. And I said, check. They said, sir, you'll never get the name Truth, sir. That's a term that you will never get. I said, and you ideally need 5 letters, right? I said, wouldn't Truth be great? They said, sir, you won't get it. You won't get it. I said, check. Well, sir, I will, but sir, you're not going to get it. I said, check. And they came back, sir, it was available, and we bought it for $2,000. Can you believe it? $2,000. And then it had a little burst. I don't know what the hell's going on. So here's my friend. He said, so they deplatform you. They take it all away. They try and destroy you. And you open up something. And as of yesterday, it was worth $10 billion crazy dollars. Did you see that? $10 billion, Mr. Senator. And they're going crazy. They all have Trump derangement syndrome. They're going, can you imagine how they must feel? They take it away and you open something that's worth $10 billion. It's crazy. But it's good. And by the way, use Truth. It's great. It really is. It's great. They've taken your money and thrown open your borders to criminals and terrorists, flooded your towns with deadly drugs and death, and given your jobs to illegal migrants, and sent our blood and treasure to fight stupid foreign wars in places and countries that you've never even heard of. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare that you're not going to take it anymore. You're not going to take it anymore. What we've built is the biggest, broadest, most incredible coalition and the greatest political movement by far in American history. And by the way, I say that all the time. They've never challenged it. They can't challenge it. It's not even close. By the way, it's 100 times, 200 times greater than anything. There's never been anything like this. I always tell the story. Pat Buchanan was a great guy, conservative commentator. He came in second in New Hampshire. And he became very famous, and he had a phenomenal career because he came in second. I came in first in 50 states. Think of it. For the nomination. First in 50 states. And then we went on to win the presidency of the United States. And then we won it a second time, but I guess we're going to have to do it a third time. We're going to do it a third time. And it's going to be, if we do it together, because it's not me, it's all of us, it's us together, it's we. It'll be the greatest event in the history of politics in America. I believe that. There'll be nothing ever like it. And we're going to straighten out our country, and we're going to make America great again. It's going to be amazing. 5 days, oh, I can't wait. You know what? I've worked for 62 days in a row. I haven't taken a day off. By the way, I looked at her today. She was trying to justify the fact that they called us all garbage. And I watched her at a news conference. She's exhausted. She's finished. And about 2 weeks ago, after having worked for 50 days in a row, 2 weeks ago, she said, I canceled the show. You know why I canceled it? Because it was on NBC fake news. I said, somebody set me up. I said, I don't want to do, and I went to another show instead. She said, he canceled the show. I did Joe Rogan for 3 hours, you know. Joe Rogan for 3 hours. She said, he canceled the show. He looks very tired. He looks very, very tired. Because I canceled the show, did another one. No, I cancel shows that are no good. NBC is no good. They're no good. ABC is no good. CBS is no good. And in fact, in honor of you, I just sued CBS today because of 60 Minutes. You know why I sued her? Because she was on, and it was called election interference fraud. Very simple. They asked her a question. She gave an answer as though she was one of the dumber people in the history of our country. Certainly the dumbest vice president, and would be beyond the dumbest president, but we're not going to let that happen. So she gave one of these, you know, they call it a word salad, but I don't like the term. I don't like the term. No, I don't like the term. I think you're very nice, but I don't like that term. She came dressed as a word salad. Do you believe it? And he came dressed as a wall. Look. And I have no idea who she is, but she's a very pretty young lady. Okay, sit down. So she answered a question. It was a question. She gave this long, crazy... If you read the answer, you would say there's something wrong with her. So you know what 60 Minutes did? Can you imagine them doing that for me? They took it was a very long answer. You just went on and on, just words. Didn't mean anything. 60 Minutes and CBS cut it all out, and they took another answer for a meaningless question, and they put it up there. Do you know that, right? They put it up there. They took it and they put it up, and they replaced an answer that would show that she's not qualified cognitively, as I would like to say. I think she should take a cognitive test. She's not qualified. They took it out in its entirety, and they took another answer from someplace else, and they put it in. That's called election interference fraud, okay? So we sued them today, and I think CBS should lose its license, but I think ABC should lose its license also because of what they've done. We'll see. It's a hard one for them to explain. Well, let's say we have a fair judge. Well, exactly why did you do that? I mean, you know, I've seen where answers are sort of juggled around. That's not good either, but a little tiny. But to take the whole thing out and to take another answer from a totally different question in a totally different part and move it in, and they got caught, and they don't want to show us any papers because they might have done it with many other answers. And that's real interference, so no, we don't have to lock them up. They should lose their license, which is worth billions of dollars. But we brought together veterans and union members, soldiers and steel workers, farmers and auto workers, and patriotic moms and dads of every race, religion, color, and creed. We're welcoming historic numbers of African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and Arab Americans. Did you see in Michigan how well we're doing with the Arab Americans? That's great. That's good. because we have a real good chance. We're leading in Michigan. We're leading in Pennsylvania. We're leading all over the place. We're leading here. We're leading in Arizona by 8. A great poll just came out. We're leading by 8. We're leading all over the place. But we're uniting Christians and Jews, Catholics and evangelicals, Muslims and Mormons, and everyone who simply wants to do one thing. It's one simple thing they want to do. You know what it is? Make America great again. So our campaign has been endorsed by the 400,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police, by the Border Patrol agents, by the rank-and-file membership of the Teamsters, and I'll tell you, headed up by a very good guy, Sean O'Brien, good guy, by Elon Musk. Well, we have so many. Yesterday, Elon, that's a great one. He feels it's so important. That guy, he's a worker, too. I'll tell you, he's working every scene. He's actually liking it. Gee, I hope he doesn't run for office. I don't want to run again. But no, he's really working. He's amazing. And, you know, yesterday we were in Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin. So who is Green Bay, Wisconsin? Brett Favre, with the largest hand I've ever seen. He said, hello, sir. He shook my hand. His fingers are like a sausage. He has the biggest hands and strong guy, great guy. And he endorsed me yesterday in Wisconsin. He's never done it before. And he's great. He's a great guy. He could throw a ball 80 yards. He could rip the hand. Sometimes threw it a little too hard. That rips the hands off the receiver. But he was great. One of the greatest. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. we have. And he's going to work on health and women's health and all of the different reasons, because we're not really a wealthy or a healthy country. We're not a wealthy country either. We owe $36 trillion, but we'll get that taken. You know what's going to take care of that? Largely? The liquid gold is going to help us with that. That's why I told Bobby, I want you to take care of health. I want you to look at the food and the food supply and what we put on the food and all sorts. You could look at, but let me handle the oil and gas, Bobby. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I want to work the liquid gold. And Buzz Aldrin endorsed this yesterday. Never done it. He's been a great hero and an astronaut for many years. He's never endorsed anybody. This is the first time, and not a young guy. This is the first time in many years first time he's ever endorsed. That was nice. Thank you, Buzz Aldrin. Kamala and Joe call them all garbage. Those people are called garbage. They're us. Everybody's us. I think 250 million people are us. And I call you the heart and soul of America. That's you're the people that built America. But we're especially excited to have the support of record numbers of Hispanic Americans. And right here in Nevada, we're going to win a record share of the Hispanic American vote at a level that nobody's ever seen before for the party. Because, you know, basically it's pretty simple. Hispanics want great jobs. They want rising wages, and they want safe communities. They're great people. Energy, they're very entrepreneurial. I know them well. They're really hard workers. They're great people. You don't want vicious gang members getting dumped into your state, and you don't want Kamala teaching your children that they can change their gender anytime they'd like. You don't want that. She came out with gender stuff. You don't want to know about it. And I don't know what's going on with Catholics, but many Hispanics are also Catholics. And Kamala is persecuting Catholics. What the hell did Catholics do? They are being persecuted. Look, she's raising her hand. They're being persecuted. And by the way, evangelicals, Christians are, you're next. You'll be next if they win. She even suggested that being Catholic disqualifies you from being a federal judge or running for office. You believe that one? How old is that theory? That goes back a long way to Kennedy. To John Kennedy. I will defend your jobs. I will protect your children, and I will defend religion. Kamala Harris is a low IQ individual who's running a campaign of hate and anger and retribution. She's now talking about what she's going to do on the border. But why didn't she do it before? 4 years. Or she's going to do something about inflation. I'm going to do something about... She has no idea what the hell she's talking about, inflation. She doesn't even know what the word means. But I say, but why didn't you do it before? I asked this question in the debate. Why didn't she do this stuff? I'm going to do this and that. She forgets she's been there for almost 4 years. Or what she's going to do to help the economy. And I say, why didn't you do it before? Why didn't you do that before? You had 4 years almost. She and Crooked Joe head up the worst administration in the history of our country. They've made Jimmy Carter the happiest man around. It's true. And in all fairness, look, he didn't allow 21 million people to pour into our country from all parts of the world, knowing nothing about them, and they turn out to be massive numbers of criminals and terrorists at levels we've never seen before. 2 nights ago, Kamala made a speech with a paid-for audience. You know she can't get crowds. They send buses. You can't. You got to send different. You can't have all the same bus line taking everybody. I thought they did a good job, actually. I could have used them sometime, but I don't need crowds. We got plenty of crowds. But she made a speech, and all she talked about was Donald Trump.
About Donald Trump, 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 Trump.
The whole thing was about Trump. She was here for almost 4 years. They didn't do anything. The worst and a failed administration. What they did in Afghanistan, others would be prosecuted for it. And they didn't fire Milley. They didn't fire these generals that did a bad job. He's an incompetent guy, too. They have a lot of incompetent people. We defeated ISIS. Remember that. That was much tougher. We did it surgically. We did it in 4 weeks. She suffers from a very serious disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. But many Democrats do. They really do. They suffer. The press suffers from it, too. They're sick people. And you know why? You know why they do this? Because we're winning. We're all winning. Just remember that. Everything Kamala says is a lie. She says, I want to take away Medicare and Social Security. It's crazy. I would never say that. Who would say that? Because if you do say that, that's your number one. It would be wrong. And number two, it's the end of your political career. So who would say that? I never said that. She said, he wants to immediately end Social Security. She's crazy. Hillary Clinton wouldn't lie like that. We can't stand Hillary. She's crooked as hell. She says, I want to end Obamacare, affordable health, okay? No, I never said that. I fixed it. I made it good, but it still stinks, okay? If we got something better, I would do it. If it was less expensive, it's too expensive and it's not a very good form of health care. But if we got something better, I'd do it. But I never said I'm going to end it. She said he wants to immediately end it. She talks about Project 2025 all the time. I have nothing to do with it. I've said it every way possible. I even said to a very good lawyer, am I allowed to sue them for continuously? We put it in writing. We said to... And the lawyer said, well, sir, you're running a campaign. You got a lot of liars in campaigns. You probably can't. But she says that I want to ban IVF. It's fertilization. That's a lie. You better believe it, because you've heard it. No, I'm like the father of IVF. When I heard about it, they had a bad ruling in Alabama. A judge ruled that all clinics have to be immediately closed. And I was called by Katie Britt, great senator from Alabama. And she said, you have no idea. So many women, they're going crazy. And I said, explain it. Just explain it. And after about 5 minutes, I said, well, we can't do that. That's great. That's helping us to have beautiful, healthy babies. That's okay. And I actually said, I wrote something out, and it was quite good, I must say, and it was totally supportive. And Alabama legislature, the following day, passed exactly what I wrote. And we are totally in favor. But she said, I want to end IVF. In fact, I want to get insurance companies to pay for the IVF if possible. We want to do it. And I'm going to protect Medicare and Social Security and your health care from Kamala's open border catastrophe. So she's the one who threatens your health care. And according to recent studies, Kamala's plan for giving free health care to illegals will destroy Medicare. It'll destroy our country. It'll cost $2 trillion. She wants to do that. She will. That's something she'll do. I will. And by the way, if you tell them, then they're going to come, and it's a tragedy. If you say you're not going to get it, then they're going to stay where they are, and it's not a tragedy. I will never let our country be destroyed. The reason Kamala's campaign has been reduced to this desperate, pathetic stream of hoaxes and lies is simple. The entire world can see she's a train wreck who is totally unqualified to be the President of the United States. She's totally unqualified. There are some people who thrive under pressure, and there are some people who crack under pressure. And the more pressure Kamala is under, the more pressure she unravels. You know, people didn't know her. She's only had a few months because she had that little honeymoon period. And remember, she was introduced, and she got on stage, and she went, thank you, 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 thank you. She's like 50 times thank you. I said, what the hell's wrong with her? But the press never picked that up. If I did that, it would be over. Remember that? Where she was, right? Was that a little weird? She said like 42 times, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But being a candidate is nothing compared to the pressure of being president. I know both. If she can't handle the press conference or the television interviews, which she can't, she should do Joe Rogan. I mean, it's a really good interview. Then she can't handle the presidency. She'll get overwhelmed, melt down, and millions of people will die. This is not a charity event. This is an election for the biggest and most important job in history. There's no participation trophy for incompetent candidates. Do you want to lose your life savings because we put a weak and foolish person in the White House? That's going to happen. If that happens, it's going to happen. Do you want to lose your job or maybe your house or pension because Kamala has the economic understanding of a child? She's a child. Do you ever hear her talk about the economic situation? Oh, me. It's crazy. She shouldn't be here. The presidency is a job held by Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Dwight Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, and people of strength and high intelligence. Would you trust Kamala to talk to Russia or China about nuclear war? But I can. We had no wars, and China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars, and Kamala, think of this, hundreds of billions of dollars. China and Russia, I ended their pipeline. They had Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of it until I said, wait a minute, they're building a pipeline in Europe that's going to Germany with offshoots all over the place. They're going to build a pipeline. I terminated that pipeline. And then they said, he's been nice on Russia. Think about that, Matt. I've been nice on Russia. I terminated the biggest job they've ever even conceived of. And then they say, oh, but I do get along with Putin, and you know, that's a good thing, and I get along with President Xi, and I get along with Kim Jong-un. But they respect us a lot. Now they laugh at us, they think we're a joke. Would you trust her to steer us out of an economic crisis? Nothing is more dangerous than to give immense power to a person with a very low IQ. You wouldn't put Kamala in charge of literally a kindergarten class. You wouldn't. So at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, can you afford to put someone that's grossly incompetent in charge of the future of our country? I don't think so. On top of all that, Kamala says she would do nothing differently. She was asked that question. Please look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is
is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret. Would you have done something differently? There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
Authorities saying Train Day Aragua, which has been linked with more than 100 criminal investigations here in the U.S., has now been found operating its criminal enterprise in apartment complexes.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
Nothing comes to mind. 325,000, the worst stat, 325,000 young, beautiful children went through her open border, and they've never been seen again. They're probably dead, or they're sex slaves or slaves of some kind, or captives. Remember that, and the press is, I've never seen a story about it from those fakers back there. Think of that. 325,000 children. And then you remember a couple of weeks ago it came out that 818,000 fake jobs were created so that they could show how great they're doing, but they were all fake. 818,000 fake jobs, and then a whistleblower, thank you very much, whistleblower, they were going to report a change after the election. They were going to report that it was, they wouldn't say it this way, but essentially it was a fraud on our country, and I never saw them write anything about it. Think of it. 800,000 jobs plus 18,000. 818,000 jobs, almost 1 million jobs were fraudulently created, but they got caught before the election. Aren't I lucky? I mean, think what would have happened. They would have announced it a week later, and everyone would have said, so what? These people are fraudulent. If you want to end this disaster, you must. This is a disaster. You must get out and you must vote. We're thrilled to be joined tonight by your next Senator, Sam Brown. Stand up, Sam. He is doing some job. And thank you very much, Senator Barrasso, for being here. It's a great honor to have you. It's a great honor. Great honor. He's a fantastic man, by the way. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Don't fight this guy either. He's a rough. Where is he? Where's Mark Wayne? What the hell happened to him? He's probably out fighting somebody. He's a hell of a fight. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Wayne. Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Stavros Anthony, thank you. Thank you, Stavros. Looking good. Thank you very much. And he's working very hard on getting out the vote, and what, maybe even more importantly, the honesty of the vote. We have everything we need now. We just need a little honesty. You and the governor are doing great. Thank you very much. Congressman from Florida is a great guy. He's really great. Matt Gaetz and his wife, his beautiful wife, Ginger. Ginger, stand up. Matt and Ginger. This is a good-looking couple. This is a seriously good-looking couple, but they're a great couple. Your congressional candidate who's really looking good, Drew Johnson. Thank you, Drew. Nevada Republican Party Chairman Michael McDonald. Thank you, Michael. 5 days, Michael. 5 days. Thank you, everybody. So important that we win this state. If we win this state, It's over. It's over. A friend of mine, a great television star, he's been on for a long time. I don't even know what the hell it is, but when you're on for more than 2 seasons, you're like considered good. This guy's been on for years and years, and he's big stuff. Rick Harrison. Where's Rick? Oh, Rick. Hi, Rick. How many years, Rick? Yeah, he's been on there for a long time. Thank you, Rick. Great job. Another friend of mine, a great writer, very powerful writer. I guess we could call him conservative, to put it mildly. Wayne Allen Root. Thank you, Wayne. Great guy. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for your support. Wayne is always supporting. I really appreciate. We have a very similar philosophy, don't we? Huh? He's been great. And my friend Steve Witkoff, who's one of the great developers in the country. Steve Witkoff, who is always there with his checkbook to help people. He goes to North Carolina. He writes out a big check no matter where he goes. He's like a walking money pit. He's got a lot of cash. But he's a very generous guy, and he's a great, talented business person. He's great, great man. But here are the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas herself. She destroyed our economy. She destroyed San Francisco. She was an original creator of defund the police movement. And anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week is not worthy of being president of the United States. See, we've learned about her. We didn't know anything about Harris. We didn't know anything about her. We've learned about her. She had that little honeymoon period. I really figured that these guys were right. Wayne, you were right about honeymoon. You said it was going to last 6 weeks, and you were right. Probably, I think, to the day. I'm very impressed with you, Wayne. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. Would anybody like to give up their gun tonight, please? She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention, all at taxpayer expense. Now think of it. This is where she is. This is her whole life until about a year ago when she realized this was not playing very well to the country. And she did one other thing. She lied about working at McDonald's. To me, that's a big deal. In conclusion, your vote this November, we're going to fire Kamala, and we're going to save America. Going to save America. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to Nevada. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American. I will end the war in Ukraine. It would have never started if I was president. I will also stop the chaos in the Middle East. October 7th would have never happened. You would have had all those people who would be living happily today. And I will prevent World War III from happening. I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. We will strengthen and modernize our military. We will build a missile defense shield over our country. It's going to all be made in the USA. That will include Nevada. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. We will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our school, and quickly. We will keep men out of women's sports, if that's okay. And I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech, and I will defend the right to keep and bear arms. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country, defend our borders, and we are going to protect our citizens like never before. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will be a free and proud nation very soon, once again. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. And every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and that beautiful American dream is going to be back and stronger than ever. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. You need to get out and vote. For the past 9 years, we've been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. People like Adam Shifty Schiff. Can you imagine that bum is going to be a senator? Can you imagine? Maybe there's a 1% chance. Who knows? He's a bum. He lied like hell. Adam Shifty Schiff. We have senators sitting over here. They can't even believe it. He's a bum. He's a liar. He's a crooked guy. He's a crooked man. With your vote in this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And 5 days from now, it's the hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help from now until Election Day, we will restore America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we love. We will take it back. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. And together we will make America powerful.